Here's Rodders!
Hey guys, welcome along to Here's Rodders Reviews. I'm your host, Rodney Stewart. We're getting into He-Man and the Masters of the Universe in this episode once again. This episode is called The Search, and what it says in the box here is the sorceress summons He-Man to Grayskull to inform him that Skeletor is about to obtain the Starseed, a powerful object that grants ultimate power. With Skeletor's plan almost complete, He-Man races to stop the evil sorcerer, but it's too late to save Orko from his bony clutches. Now He-Man has to decide between his friends and giving Skeletor ultimate power. That is fairly accurate to the episode. As I've said before, the little things that they write in the back of these boxes, like there's some guy somewhere had one job and it was to fill these things in. It's like a little synopsis of the episode, and the majority of them are, obviously been written by someone that kind of watched the show, but at the same time was, doing something else. And but that is fairly accurate. There's a character pops up that warns at this at the start called, let me just check his name again, because he's a new character. This is the first time he's popped up in the show for me. He is Zodak, and he's kind of like a cosmic enforcer sort of a character, and he warns the sorceress at the beginning that this is happening. The Starseed has been discovered at the centre of the planet, and of course Eternia, the planet that started life in this universe that it's set on, the first planet in all of creation. Magic and everything started there. It's very similar to the orb that was in the Masters of the Universe Revelation. Very, very similar. This thing can grant ultimate power to whoever has it, so Skeletor is off. He's on his way to get it. And this guy manages to drop a little bombshell at the start of this episode that I thought was fairly interesting. He's like the only person that can save the universe is the person with the powers of He-Man, the person called Adam. So this is a character I found this very interesting. It's like somebody outside the circle of four that we know of that knows that Prince Adam is in fact He-Man, refers to him by his real name. So of course the sorceress calls on He-Man, and at this point He-Man is, as usual, he's out with Teela, Battle Cat and Orko, and they're out doing a search in the planet. Adam's there at the behest of the king to learn a bit of responsibility, essentially go out of the yard and check things out. So they get separated. So he's trying to get away to the sorceress, so he manages to slip Teela, and he sets his sky sled on autopilot to go back to the palace, hoping that will, if Teela is scanning for him, she'll see that the sky sled's gone back home and she'll just follow it. So indeed she does that, and He-Man gets to Castle Grayskull. The sorceress fills him in on what's happening, and he sets off on his journey with Battle Cat and Orko to stop Skeletor, essentially get to the Starseed before him. So they go down this tunnel. Skeletor's there, and one thing that I've found interesting in rewatching this series now is the amount of episodes on here that Skeletor isn't a part of. Whenever you think of He-Man, the Masters of the Universe, you're thinking every episode He-Man versus Skeletor, but there's a lot of stuff in here where he isn't even involved in it. Like it's, it has to be, and I'm just guessing at numbers here, but it has to be pretty close to double figures in the run of the series where there's no Skeletor in it. But he's here along with Beastman and Merman, and they've got this drilling machine going down towards the core of the planet to find the Starseed, and my stomach just rumbled. If you did hear that, I apologise. But He-Man catches up, and Skeletor is expecting this to happen, and he's got explosives in the tunnel, so he caves the tunnel in front of He-Man and behind him as well. So he's trapped in the centre of this tunnel, about a quarter mile worth of debris that he needs to break his way through to finish his mission. And the first option is to get Orko to try a little spell, see if he can make the rubble disappear. Of course, Orko, messing up his magic as usual. he casts a spell, and instead of the rocks moving or disappearing, there's just a small little pebble floats up into the air and then drops to the floor. And He-Man, he's like, you know what, if you leave it to you, we're going to be here for years. So him and Battle Cat start to punch and break their way through, and eventually they get through, catch up with Skeletor, and Skeletor gets the upper hand once more. He uses his magic to encase Orko in this ball of energy, and kind of holds him to ransom for He-Man. Like, you do what you're told, you'll help me achieve my ends here, or I'm gonna do away with your friend, sort of thing. So Orko, he's trapped in this bubble, and He-Man's got no option but to help Skeletor get to the centre of the planet to get the Star Seed. Now, when they're close to it, they come across this like big crystal cavern and these crystal beasts, and they've got this ability to project force fields, and Skeletor gets trapped along with Beastman and Merman inside their drilling machine by this force field. And He-Man makes a deal with Skeletor. Look, I'll help you escape this, but you're going to have to leave. If I help you and get you to safety, you're going to have to leave, forget about the Star Seed. And if Skeletor agrees, but he can't be trusted either, and He-Man does manage to get the upper hand on these crystal beasts, and of course Skeletor goes back on his word, and there's a little confrontation between him and He-Man. And while this is happening, Orko has escaped at this point, and he actually finds the Star Seed, and he's like, okay, what am I going to do here? So he opens his hat like a little engine cover, and reaches inside his head, and he starts pulling out all this stuff, and he's like, if I can find something that looks like the Star Seed, I can put it in there in place of it. And he finds this little, like, the orb is about this size, like, just slightly bigger than your hand, the Star Seed, and he finds this little bouncy ball, and he's like, this is close enough. And by the time Skeletor actually gets there, lifts the Star Seed, he thinks he's won, and of course He-Man turns up along with Orko, and they've got a Star Seed as well, and which is the real one, sort of a deal. And Skeletor tries to cast a spell using the Star Seed. That doesn't work. He's got the ball, and He-Man is standing, and he takes the real Star Seed from Orko, and he's like, I could use this to destroy your evil. I could end everything now. And then he has a memory of the sorcerers who told him at the start, the Star Seed, if you touch it, it's going to put you in touch with its dark side. It's going to tempt you to do evil. And for a moment, he has this internal fight with himself where, he starts to realise that he could have all the power of the universe. He could be a master of the universe, and he could end Skeletor's tyranny here and now. And Skeletor even says, I can see it. He-Man, you're turning evil. I can see it in your eyes. And he's encouraging He-Man to do the wrong thing in this moment. But he doesn't. He does the right thing. And that's it. Pretty much Skeletor turns on his heels. Off he goes. And He-Man and Cringer and Orko return to Grayskull with the Star Seed for safekeeping. And they turn up, and your man, what's his face, Zodak, he's still there with the sorcerers, and he levitates the Star Seed from He-Man's hand over to his own hand, and it disappears. And he says, you've done well. And it turns out that Zodak himself was the one that clued Skeletor in to where the Star Seed was actually at, and it was all a test to see if He-Man would do the right thing, essentially. Like, he says, for a hero, every once in a while it becomes necessary to test their honour, their virtue, if they're capable of being a hero and doing the right thing at all costs. And this is like the ultimate temptation for He-Man, and he managed to get through it. And at the end of the episode, he disappears and all's fine and well. He-Man done his job well. And at the end of the episode, you get your little PSA, and it's actually Zodak himself, and he pops up at the end of the episode, and he's like, there's times when everyone dreams of becoming very rich and very powerful, but what they don't think about is the problems and the responsibilities that go with it. And today's story, He-Man was tested, and he proved his worth when he was able to resist the temptation to use his great power for any selfish gain. He knew that it's just as important to know when not to use force as it is to know when to use it. So this was an epic episode. And just thinking back on what I've been saying here, I really don't believe I've done it any kind of justice whatsoever. So definitely, if you've not checked out He-Man the Masters of the Universe, the classic 83 version, go back and check out this episode. It's with great power comes great responsibility storyline. It's the superhero, not an origin story, but it's the moment in every superhero origin story where the hero gets to a point where he has to make a decision whether he's going to go for good or go for evil. And we're a crap load of episodes into this series, and we're only really getting it now with He-Man, and it was very, very good. I'm going to go watch it again now. Guys, thank you so much for checking out the video. Please consider subscribing to the channel, and if you do, don't forget to turn on that bell icon to be notified of future uploads. And please check out some of the other videos on this channel while you're here.